Tonight on The Bruce Collins Show, Elaine Culotti, successful entrepreneur, star of Undercover Billionaire, and candidate for California governor.
Hey, Bruce, what are you doing with your shoulders?
It's called acrobatics.
Don't you mean aerobics?
I know what I mean to say, Chard.
Flip on the switch, feel the static clear, naming the glow, yeah, the reason we're here. From the edge of the map to your kitchen chair, he's talking wild truth like he owns the air. Out past the highway, out past the mall, where the sand keeps secrets, you can hear that call. It's the Bruce Collins Show. The barrier for dusting, taking control from the desert wind to your radio. We're the loyal knights of the wobbly table, laughing loud, keeping legends stable. Yeah, the Bruce Collins Show. Funeral rides high over dust and stone, stories like sparks in a cyclone. Strange little kingdom made of coffee and chords, where the late night callers become the lords. Crowns made of stickers, capes made of flannel. We pledge our oaths to the glowing panel. It's the Bruce Collins Show. The barrier broadcasting, still in the glow. From the desert wind to your radio. We're the loyal knights of the wobbly table, raising much, making myths and fables. Yeah, the Bruce Collins Show.
Welcome to The Bruce Collins Show. I'm Bruce Collins, the Baron of Broadcasting. My co-host is Chad, the Odometer Miles. Our guest tonight is Elaine Culotti, successful entrepreneur, star of TV show Undercover Billionaire, and California governor candidate. If you want to join the Bruce Collins Show community, you're free to join our page on Facebook. And also, we always appreciate it when you like our videos and subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. I also have another YouTube channel called Bruce Collins Reacts and Stuff that you may also enjoy. And now, on with the show. Tonight we are broadcasting live across all 17 dimensions.
Bruce, for the last time, this is a terrestrial feed.
Not extraterrestrial. Got it.
Need a tinfoil receiver for that.
Oh, did we lose Neptune to the Impressionables with Money Turkel, the Furry Bleachers, or Why Squatch TV?
We never had Neptune.
Well, that is extremely infelicitous.
Where did you get that $3 word?
Hooked on bubonics. Hey, Chad, I heard that we are now also being simulcast on a new radio station. Is this correct?
Yes, that is correct.
How did this happen?
The program manager there is deaf.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You have a history of tone deafness.
What are the call letters?
KUKU.
Radio station KUKU?
Yes, they have an intro they want read every week to introduce the show.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
You probably should start today. You don't want to upset the bigwigs.
Yeah, the toupee business is huge. Okay, let's start over then.
No, they have an announcer here from the station to read the introduction.
Oh, very well then.
The Cuckoo Hour is upon us again, and we're about to hear from Bruce Collins as radio personality Ambrose J. Wigglewart, as he speaks truth to the world from station KUKU, America's newest and worst radio program.
Cuckoo Hour, is this a joke?
No, the radio station is KUKU. It's pronounced cuckoo.
I'm a Wigglewart?
More like a scab.
This is your last chance to get away. All right, that's your own fault. We now turn you over to station KUKU.
Hey, Bruce, you're live. Say something intelligent.
What is going on?
Well, if you don't know what you're doing, how's the audience expected to know?
Cuckoo, 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 cuckoo.
Is 4 o'clock?
No, that's the call letters. Don't get distracted. You need to show your audience what Wigglewart is doing today.
I bet he's not talking to two imbeciles.
Bruce, this is an important sponsor. Don't ruin this opportunity.
Opportunity for what?
The time is now 7.5 pounds. Mother and child are doing well.
Am I in the twilight zone?
Who, you or Wigglewort?
I'm not sure.
And now it's time.
This used to be the Bruce Collins Show. Now it appears Cuckoo Collins is in charge.
Well, that's always been the case.
And now it's time for the news with Chad Miles. The week's most dubious developments.
I'm not sure, but I think he just said the dumbest news of the week.
Coffee stain on his collar, name tag hanging wrong. Sleep in both of his eyes, red light flashing strong. He shovels up to the camera, cracked mug, crooked tie. Says, I've seen some stupid stories, but this one made me cry. Oh man, it's the Chad Miles Report headlines. The dumbest news of the week. From Florida man fights lawnmower to inflicts with concrete. We tune in for the train wreck. We can't stop. We lean into read. Yeah, the Chad Miles Report. Streaming the dumbest news of the week. So dumb, so sweet. Breaking cat stuck in a sweater. Breaking toast that looks like a face. Council meets about a pigeon who keeps pooping on the mayor's briefcase. He's deadpan reading disaster. That's really just a broken cone. Nation shocked. He says then Snickers. I kid who married his phone. It's the Chad Miles Report headlines. The dumbest news of the week. Grandma banned from local bingo for allegedly counting too quick. We tune in for the train wreck. We act appalled while trying not to scream. Yeah, the Chad Miles Report. Serving the dumbest news.
Well, it's time for the Chad Miles Report with the dumbest news of the week. Joining us is Christopher Cartwright. Chad, take it away.
Article number 1, and I'll just have you know, Bruce, that this first article has been a hot debate topic in my house for the last week. I'm serious. Professional cornhole player and quadruple amputee Dayton James Weber, age 27, was arrested on March 22nd in Charlottesville, Virginia, WBRC TV reported. Earlier that evening, Weber and Bradrick Michael Wells, 27, got into an argument as Weber drove in La Plata, Maryland, witnesses said. Weber allegedly shot and killed Wells, then pulled over and asked his backseat passengers to pull Wells' body from the car. He's a quadruple amputee. Just to refresh everyone's memory.
Yeah.
They refused and left the vehicle, then called police. Weber drove on with Wells's body, which was later found in a yard. When detectives found Weber, he was at a Virginia hospital seeking medical care. In Maryland, he's expected to be charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and more. Weber plays in the American Cornhole League, which in 2023 called him, quote, a shining example of our slogan, anyone can play, anyone can win. That's from WBRC.
He's
Quadruple
professional.
amputee. He has no arms and no legs.
Yeah, and I was also going to go with the angle. There's professional cornhole players.
Right.
I had
Is this
heard
on
about
television? Am I missing this?
I've
Yeah,
I had
never
heard about
seen
this
it.
story, and when I had heard about it, they hadn't released how they got his body out, and I had no idea that he asked the people that were in his car to do it for him.
How does he play cornhole?
I asked this, how does he shoot somebody?
Right, exactly.
And then my son showed me a video of him shooting a pistol. Like he can do it
With his teeth or what?
with his little nubs.
Oh,
It's crazy. It's crazy. He's
that is crazy.
He's very handy capable instead of being handicapped. It's actually pretty impressive to see him
Yeah.
shoot a pistol
But the
and play
murder part
cornhole.
is not so impressive.
No, that's not impressive. He used his skills for evil, not good.
That's right.
Article number 2. Florida Highway Patrol officers stopped a truck near Plant City, Florida on March 22nd as it drove along a state highway, CBS 12 TV reported. The driver, whom officers dubbed Rocket Man,
It was Kim Jong-un, I tell you. It was Kim Jong-un.
Had missiles mounted in the bed of his truck, and multiple other drivers had called it in. However, the missiles turned out to be plastic replicas used for shows and events, and the driver was released with a gentle warning to transport his artillery in some other manner. So he was cosplaying with his truck, I guess?
I guess so.
Crazy. Article number 3. In Mount Gambier, Australia, a large sculpture called Cast in Blue has garnered attention from locals since its installation last year, ABC News reported. Amelia Vanderhost, age 20, of Mount Gambier, added her own personal touches to the blue blob last year, and on March 24th, she pleaded guilty in court to a charge of making graffiti. According to Vanderhost, she was high on MDMA and had consumed 3 liters of vodka before placing googly eyes on the sculpture. Now, I just want to stop right here, and I hope scientists will put her in behind the line of the guy who was buried for 12 days and study her body for science, because I don't know how somebody could drink 3 liters of vodka and live, let alone put googly eyes on a sculpture.
Can you imagine her next job interview? So, what were you in prison for? I put the googly eyes on the statue.
Oh, that was you. Okay. She said she wanted to make it look funny, but admitted it was one of the stupidest things I've ever done. She was ordered to pay $2,000 in compensation and complete 60 hours of community service. Your actions mocked the sculpture and the artist, said Magistrate Kylie Schultz. But don't worry, $60 Australian is $20 US probably. I don't know. I just added that last part. Is it like rupees? Is it like, $60 is $1.58 US or something?
So she basically turned a blue blob into the Cookie Monster. Who cares?
She did a public service.
That's right.
They should be paying her. What is MDMA? Do you know what that is? I didn't look that up.
You ask me like I've taken drugs before.
I think it's.
I have no idea.
What do you call?
Christopher knows.
I might know. What's the
Christopher's
one they
the
take at like
pharmacy
raves? What's the one they take at raves and stuff?
Ecstasy?
I think it's a type of kind of like ecstasy or something like that.
Hey, I'm going to put these googly eyes on there.
If you know what MDMA is, let us know in the comments.
And that and vodka, 3 liters.
3
I don't even
liter.
drink 2 liters of Coke.
3
Coca-Cola.
liters.
I should make that clear.
Yeah.
3 liters of vodka? That's going to ruin your liver.
That's it. Article number 4. Bruce, this article has you written all over it.
Oh, thanks.
The Texas Department of Transportation has cut off the small town of Big Tussle, population
Bug Tussle.
15. Bug Tussle, sorry. Bug Tussle. United Press International reported on March 23rd. More than 70 Bug Tussle road signs have been stolen over the years, and the Department of Transportation announced it won't supply the burg anymore. People just like the name Bug Tussle, and they steal the signs, explained resident Deborah Stout.
I imagine a bunch of Texans standing around and some guy goes, "Hey, you want to see my Bug Tussle signs?"
That would
got
be
a collection.
awesome. Put that in the background of the studio, Bruce. Get a Bug Tussle sign.
I mean,
There
just
might be a couple left.
70 signs that people have been stealing. That That's insane. And the population is 15, so it's people from other towns coming around to
Right,
take the
exactly.
signs.
What prompted them to name that town that? Just fighting bugs everywhere.
Yeah,
Somebody
probably.
drank 3 liters of vodka and did some MDMA and said,
Yeah.
bug tussle.
What does a town of a population of 15 look like? You probably don't have McDonald's, gas station.
My
What do you have?
house.
Just a couple houses? Yeah.
It's just 15 guys living in a house.
I mean, you probably don't have a mayor, right? I mean, nobody gets paid. There's no city services or anything. I've never lived in a town that small.
No, that's
That's
pretty
crazy.
small. That's pretty small. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, article number 5. Hundreds of people swarm to Annapolis, Maryland each year for the Annapolis Oyster Roast and Sock Burning Festival, NPR reported. Can you imagine the smell of that festival?
Well, at least they're not burning their underwear.
This year's event on March 21st said goodbye to one of the coldest winters on Chesapeake Bay. Kelly Swartout of the local Maritime Museum said the event started in 1977 when a local sailor got so fed up with the cold weather that he decided he was going to take his socks off and burn them.
This weather's so cold, I'm going to burn my socks.
I'm so mad. Festival attendee Scott Laban said he brought a sock with a hole in it and the
Ooh.
Egyptian cotton socks that your mom got you. Because
Is
no one
that
wears
like Corinthian leather?
fresh
Egyptian
Corinthian leather.
cotton socks?
And he said, because no one wears dress socks anymore. I beg to differ with that. It's a good party, he said. That's from NPR.
Yeah, they have that song from the 50s. It's a good party, and I'll burn my socks if I want to.
Burn them if I want to. Burn my socks if I want
Who's
to.
so cold that they take their socks off?
And burn them. That's smart. What a genius. And so the rest of Annapolis said, "Hey, that guy was a legend. Let's all do it." Well, Chad and Christopher, thank you so much for reporting the news. Thank you, Chad, for the dumbest news of the week, the Chad Miles Report. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, our interview tonight is with Elaine Culotti. She's running for California governor, and we'll have that in a moment. Tonight on the Bruce Collins Show, we're joined by entrepreneur, real estate visionary, and a woman many viewers first discovered on the hit television series Undercover Billionaire. My guest has built a reputation for creativity and determination, but her ambitions don't stop with business. Now she's stepping into the political arena, raising the question, could a self-made entrepreneur shake up the political establishment and chart a new course for California? And as most of us former Californians know, California is off course, so it definitely needs a new course. Elaine Culotti, welcome to the Bruce Collins Show.
Hi, Bruce. Thank you for having me on. I hear you've left sunny Southern California.
Yeah. No, well, Sunnyvale, California, actually.
You left sunny Southern California.
Well, we're Northern California, though.
No, you left sunny Southern California. You left. Well, no, Sunnyvale's right in the middle at San Francisco, if you call it that way.
Yeah, that's true.
You're right in the middle.
I still have a lot of family members in California. So what experiences in your early life shaped the entrepreneurial mindset you have today?
Oh, clearly my dad was in the military and my mom was an orphan. So I was born to two people that basically had no footprint for being parents. My dad also went to boarding school. And I had free reign, and they were so in love with kids and the creativeness of kids and a family life that they kind of let us, all three of us, be very adventurous. And we had a lot of support. And I don't remember much as a child being in trouble or, having I never did any thing really bad that got me in trouble. I liked school. And so I grew up thinking I can do anything. I was empowered, I think. And by the time I was a young adult, like 14, 15 years old, I knew really clearly that without liquidity, I couldn't get anything done I wanted to do. Like, I couldn't get the car that I wanted or the tennis shoes that I wanted to have that were hip or, I don't know, go out with friends to a beach or do something. You
Mhm.
had to have a job. So I started working really young. I had a job at Train Heating and Air Conditioning selling surveys for $3 an appointment. And I realized immediately, oh, you don't want to work by the hour. You don't want to work by the hour. That doesn't work. You're just wasting your time. And it never stopped. I just figured out that independence is important. It's why we're in America. And it's our freedom that we should protect. And I didn't like nobody said to me, protect your freedom, you're a patriot. Like that's not what happened. I just grew up from traveling around and having lived experiences. I realized that we are so lucky. We
Mhm.
are so blessed. And every day I get up, I recognize that. So if someone threatens that, and it doesn't matter what color, shirt they're wearing, if somebody threatens my freedom, I get very uh, defiant.
Mhm.
It brings up something in me that's like, hold on a minute. And I become very parental. Like, mama bear comes out that, like, to protect not just our freedom, but my kids and their kids and what all the blood spill that happens when you try to protect freedom, the history of that. And I get incited to, speak up. And so it's all from just dumb luck. I grew up in a household that said, freedom is good. You should protect it.
Mhm. What was the biggest risk you took early in your career?
Mm. Well, everything when you're an entrepreneur is
Is
risky.
a risk, yeah.
So you because you're just, you're relying on you and you have to be all in. It's like a poker game, where you're just like, I think my cards are the best at the table, so I'm all in. And you have to be completely okay with you don't have the best cards and you're all out on your ass. You have to be ready
Mhm.
for that. And I'm one of those people. I do recognize that as I've gotten older, I've become better at analyzing whether or not I have the best cards. But have I become less risky? I'm just more seasoned.
Mhm.
And I, like anyone, could be blindsided. And, so you have to surround yourself by people when you get to a bigger level to be less risky because you've sought good advice and you have people around you that you trust. But
Mhm.
if you take the risk out of someone like me, you will get nothing done.
And during your career, your long entrepreneurial career, what was the toughest business decision you ever had to make?
I think selling my shoe shine company. It was really hard when I was young because the people that worked in it were all my girlfriends.
Mhm.
Everybody worked. I had so many friends, and I built it from. It was my first big business, and it wasn't. When I say big business, I sold it for $250,000, but it was my first big business, and it was a
Mhm.
long time ago. And I didn't want to sell it because I had this sense of like connection to it that was like a mother to a child. It wasn't like I had the wrong idea about how to parlay something, how to leverage it. Where but it was an experience, that I'll relish forever. Um, but in terms of like how I came back from that, most of the businesses since then, I haven't been as connected to the people that work for me because it was painstaking. I was in love with every single one of my friends. I just, and I'm like, okay, you guys are going to be okay with this new owner, Barry, and they weren't. He wasn't me, and so it was very hard. But it wasn't there was nothing about it that hurt anybody. No money was lost, Most of the
Right.
time most of the time, the decisions that I've made, the most impacted person is me.
Mhm. So you were on Undercover Billionaire. You were placed in an unfamiliar environment and asked to build something from nothing. What did that experience teach you about resilience?
Um, it reminded me of when I used to have grit and when I was really scrappy and I had to figure it out, because at the time that I did it, it was in 2020, and I was already very successful, and, COVID was upon us, and everything was shut down. And this beautiful offer came to pass, and I said, I think it's gonna be so much fun." And when I got there, it was anything but fun. It was terrifying. And the reason it was terrifying is because I personally had been so far removed from that, ground game, the
Mhm.
hustle, the, stamina, the sh the scrappiness involved when you have nothing. You have to be so fast on your feet. And I regained that confidence from that show, 100%. I had lost it and I got it back. And when I came out of that show and I emerged out of that show, I was so grateful to all the people that I worked with in Fresno. These people that needed some kind of like guidance. And I realized that I can harness a lot of energy if I put my mind to it. And I had a lot of takeaway lessons and I created a successful business. And my business, while it didn't evaluate as high as Grant's, because Grant had a high evaluation. There were 3 of us. There was Monique, Grant, myself. My business operates today. Also, it's what's really important is how many people I employed and how many lives it changed. You have to look at when you look at the evaluation of a business, is it sustainable? Does it employ a lot of people? Will it continue to pay sales tax in the neighborhood that it's in? Will people benefit from it long term? Has anyone gotten hurt, crushed, or put out of business as a result of you? There's a lot of things to think about. And my business was number one. It was a really good, beneficial business needed.
Mhm. Now, one more entertainment question, then we'll switch to politics. But I used to promote professional wrestling in Northern California. Started my own business, named it after my grandfather because when I was a kid, I went over to my grandfather's house and if he wasn't watching roller derby, he was watching professional wrestling. So I got hooked on it as a kid. So I started this company and I was promoting in Northern California. And I saw a television show, a reality series called Joe Millionaire. And that gentleman was a professional wrestler down in Southern California. The whole premise was staged. And I understand shows like Storage Wars, they may put like expensive items in the locker, in the storage area. But in your show, that was totally legit, correct?
It was totally legit. In fact, I can tell you some scuttlebutt. Um,
Sure.
so I didn't know much about it. Glenn had talked me into it, and I went back and watched, you know, a half a episode, and I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to watch this because I won't do it. And so I was a little unprepared for the car thing and not having a license to get a hotel room and only having $100. And I lucked out with Shepherd's Inn, but it, I was absolutely left. They were fine if I slept in my
Wow.
car. They didn't care. And they have food. They go to lunch. The staff goes to lunch and they eat, not me. And the girl that was supposed to do the overnight camera stuff, she wouldn't do it. She's like, "I am not staying in that place overnight. It's not safe."
Wow.
You have only most almost through the whole series, all the overnight stuff, there's only a handful where she was there. Most of the time, I'm doing them on my phone because I was alone, and I had a little microphone thing that I was supposed to stick in there and talk on my phone. There was a fire in the back of Shepherd's Inn. Someone lit up. They were always lighting fires. It was crazy, and I called, like, 911, and they wouldn't come. Put it out myself. None of it's on camera. There
Wow.
were it was they didn't care at all about my safety. I remember at one point I was kind of freaking out and I had a minute to call, home and I was like and apparently, my partner called, the show and said, "You guys have to get security for her." And they're like, "Oh, there's a fence on the upstairs and she's completely locked in," and you know what I
Man.
mean?
Yeah.
It's
Crazy.
like yeah.
So let's talk about California now. California is one of the most complex states economically and politically. What motivated you to consider stepping into that arena?
Well, geez, that's a big question. First of all, I've been doing business here since 1991, so I'm pretty invested in California. We're talking about like, a huge portfolio of real estate, 3 children raised and all attended school here. I have a farm. I have farm animals and dogs and people that I love and all my friends. And I'm a Californian. I can't leave.
Mhm.
I just can't, and I wouldn't. I'm not a quitter, so I'm not going anywhere. So that's why. Okay, that's the beginning of it. Secondly, I remember California the way California is supposed to be because I've been here long enough to have experienced it and lived it. Now, I recognize that the world is different. I recognize that, yes, we have cell phones, and yes, we had COVID, and yes, we, can buy things with our telephone, and, we don't need cash. And I recognize all the common things that have created, the future. But the mismanagement of the tax dollars and the hardworking Californians that have revenue streams that they create, um, the mismanagement of all of that, of our trillions and trillions, it's 3.5 trillion in GDP, and it's like a lot of money. The
Yeah.
mismanagement of the general fund in Sacramento is jailable. These people should be in jail. They shouldn't be in office. They should be in jail. And I go back to the most important thing to me is my freedom, and I will fight for it. And they rallied me. They incited me by stealing and implementing unfunded mandates across California. And when I say unfunded mandates, I'm talking about, you know, telling small cities like Sunnyvale, where you used to live,
Mhm.
that they need to build high density housing in single family residential neighborhoods where the American dream lives and breathes. We're going to put an apartment building next to you. And if you don't do it, Sunnyvale, we're going to have one of our friends do it for you. They're going to jump the Rubicon on all the approvals, and there will be an apartment building there, and you will pay back Sacramento for that unfunded mandate. So this is a tragedy across California that started 3 decades ago. They have owed unfunded mandate money to cities for 15 years, and it's 2 billion, 3 whatever billions of dollars. Who even knows, because they can't keep track of it. And then they pile on these responsibilities to these cities, and it subtracts money from the city budget, and they can never recoup it. But they get more people, and they have, more costs. They have more traffic. They have more kids in school. But the amount of money that they have to operate keeps going down, 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 down. So I saw this, I lived this, I've watched my little cities where the stores are all closed. I've stepped over people to go into a restaurant that have been sleeping there for weeks. I've seen people poop in front of me, on the street and not clean it up. I'm just like, this has got to stop.
Mhm.
And it's nothing to do with left or right. What is wrong? What is going on? And I like math. So I'm sorry I'm boring. For those of you who don't think I love math. I did some math. And if you do the math, you recognize right away, uh-oh, it's all sort of stemming from this one issue. And that's Sacramento trying to stay in charge. And I think it's not complicated, even though California's economics are complicated. I think any time in any game or any, family dynamic or any, you know, government or um, global race or the Olympics or you name it, okay? Competitive behavior is upon us always. There are competitive people. And I think that you should apply, if you're confused about this, apply competitive behavior to the Republicans and to the Democrats. And remember that they are competing. They're competing for your tax dollars, and they will do anything to get them. And it's a competition.
Mhm. It is.
And they're competing to steal from you. Okay? That's what's happening. These people that you vote into office are taking your money. So be careful when you cast your ballot. Think about how much money you want them to take out of your pocket because they're telling you. You can figure it out. And stop thinking that nonprofit is charitable and NGOs are approved or somehow doing math, or that special interest is not exactly what it says. Specially, they're specific to the interest that they are funding. So if it's big pharma, they want more big pharma. If it's trial lawyers, they want more trial lawyers. If it's big ag, they want all the big ag here. So you have to figure out how your politician is being funded, follow the money, okay? Then
Mhm.
you will know what their agenda is. And now, California, we have Grok and we have chat. And you can go on and you can punch in a person's name and you can say, how did they vote? And it will tell you that Swalwell voted to transgender kids in school without parental consent. It will tell you that Swalwell has incited cities across California to harbor criminals and stolen children. It will tell you everything. You can check on every single person and you can find out if they have a criminal record, if they've done good in their community. Just check, for goodness sakes. And that's why I got in politics,
Mhm.
because I like to do math.
Yeah. Now, I will say I'm a registered Republican, but the thing that I found is when you vote for your party, they're not accountable to you. And so you really need someone who's an independent, and we're making that point right now. You're running as an independent. But that also presents some challenges, doesn't it?
Sure, there's no money for independents
Mhm.
because we're not part of the team Republican, the GOP. You know, the Republican caucus is so huge. It's a money machine, right? But in
Right.
California, it has nothing. So then you got the Democrats. Okay, so we are a uniparty state, right? We have 60% registered Democrats, something like that. I mean,
Mhm.
some people say it's less, but you can see it's not.
Right.
And they have been living in an echo chamber, because the Trump derangement syndrome is so crazy. So people are like, listening to Democrats repeat their own narratives over and over again until you believe it, which I think is, hijacking and gaslighting, the population of California. That's a really solid group of people. It's a slim group of people. I mean, I've probably polled thousands of Democrats and asked them questions like, "Are you cool with, transing kids without parental, permission and stuff?" And they're all no. So you can't say to me that that's a Democratic issue. Like it's just not. And but you would think it is when watch the news.
Mhm.
So my goal as a no party preference is to appeal to Democrats and Republicans by using common sense policy and rather than picking a side. And by the way, people will tell you, oh, she's a Democratic shill or she's a Republican shill, whatever. That's fine. Say whatever you want. Okay. I'm a Californian. Okay. I believe in my body, my choice, but that does not make me pro abortion. Nobody should be
Right.
out. I'm going to get an abortion. Isn't it great? And Democrats don't think like that either. What
Mhm.
they want is they want a discussion between them and their doctor and nobody else. And that's fine. And that's how it should be. That does not make me not a Republican when it comes to fiscally, managing your budget.
Right.
I am far more conservative when it comes to money than most Democrats are. But I know plenty of Democrats who run huge companies and know full well how to run them. They're super smart business people. Look at all the major tech industries. It's all Democrats. So they know how to run a business. So for
Mhm.
me, what I say to the Republicans is shame on you guys, you top level billionaires here in California. Shame on you for not getting in front of this because these are the guys you voted into office and you let them, California Democrats at the top level, all of you, Mark Zuckerberg, Spielberg, all the Bergs, every one of them, they all let California have 47% of its bills paid by one customer, the billionaires. They let
Mhm.
us walk into that trap. And I'm here to say, like, we can't function like that. People are mad at me because I'm like, don't tax the billionaires. Are you, the billionaires are paying 47% of the bills.
Mhm.
So you might not like it, but that's the reality. Out of 40 million people, only 17.5 million pay taxes in California, and 47% of that comes from 200 guys. So get it together. And this is the thing that people don't understand. I mean, they're not fiscally, the guys that are running, all these people that are running for governor, they need to understand what it means to sign the front of a check and how hard it is to keep your money in your bank account for a 6-month period so that you can complete a project or a year period so you have to manage money. You have to have a schedule of values. You have to understand the beginning, the middle, and the end. And how are you going to get the bow on the top of your project? So when I decided to run, what's the first thing I did? I said, I need a 7-year plan because it's a 7-year job. If you're
Mhm.
doing it well on year 4, you will get reelected. But you got to be in it. You have to have a game plan. So I wrote a 7-year plan. I didn't write a week plan. I wrote it first. I have plans between November winning and January becoming the governor that don't involve California because I'm not in charge in California. But you can mark my words. If I become the governor in November, I am in DC sorting out this relationship with Trump immediately because it's a mess.
Yeah.
We don't have any help. Look at the Palisades.
Do
There's
you have that? Do you have that plan on your website?
sort of. I have
Okay.
policy on the website right
Okay.
now. Yeah, I'm going to put a whole schedule up. I am
Excellent.
right now. My goal is I'm building this thing called the Great American Credit Union. I'm happy to talk to anybody about it. But the whole idea is for high net worth earners in the state to be able to invest in a credit union that belongs to California. And by the way, Trump is doing something very similar with the Trump dollars, for the kids.
Mhm.
But essentially, you have dividend paying stock that way. So the investments that are made by the billionaires in the credit union, let's say they invest $100 billion, okay? If they invest it between 9 and 23% like they have been the last decade, think of the money stream that would be generated for the Great American Credit Union. And you could repay those billionaires 100% of their money on a normal interest rate loan instead of taxing them, and have them contribute 500 billion instead of taxing them one time 100 billion, which is exactly what they're trying to do. It's kind of like they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And for people who don't know what that means, okay, they're going to tax the billionaires so much that we're going to lose $122 billion a year annually in perpetuity for as long as they live here and make money, for $100 billion one time, retroactively. It's just a dumb idea that was drafted up by, you know, the hierarchy of Sacramento, and pushing this down to all the cities and telling all the city councils and mayors, we don't know what we're going to do. We don't have any money. We have to get this passed. We have an aha moment. We'll get it from the billionaires, without thinking through that they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. All the billionaires left. Now
Yeah.
we're 88. Yeah, we're 88 billion down with another 88 to go. Get ready. It's
Yeah.
going.
I mean, you mentioned Grant Cardone. That's what he did. He moved out of California.
Grant and he's so hardworking, and
Mhm.
he's like me. He's tireless. You cannot work him. That's Grant.
Mhm.
He's a absolute killer in the office. Like, get it done. I don't want any excuses. That's how I am. And people like that, it's very hard here because you just get exhausted from it.
Mhm. Now,
You
I have some more questions, but since we mentioned it, can you give out your website address?
Yes, it's Culotti4California.com, and Culotti is spelled Culotti, Culotti for California. You can also hit me up on Instagram and other platforms under Lipstick Farmer. A lot of people know me as Lipstick Farmer, so which is cool. I like it too. Any
Okay.
way you want to get Elaine Culotti, find me.
Okay, excellent. Now, Governor Newsom's pandemic policies included some of the strictest lockdowns in the country, and that sparked a lot of debate about balancing public safety with economic freedom. If you had been governor at the time, would you have handled these decisions differently?
Oh, if I had been governor when that happened, California wouldn't have had COVID. I had none of it. I had the luxury of having my ranch, so I went there and shut it down for the 2 weeks that we were supposed to shut it down.
Mhm.
I barely put a mask on even when we were filming, Undercover when we were filming Undercover Billionaire. It was right in the middle of that whole thing. I did not get vaccinated. I wasn't having any of it. I didn't let any of my kids get vaccinated. I pitched a huge fit about it. I was absolutely against all of it, and what I keep telling people that were mad at me, because there's a lot of people that were upset with me about this. I am a Californian, and I believe in my body, my choice. I always have. I've always been particular about how my kids were vaccinated, which they all were. I'm not anti-vax. I just don't like being someone's experiment. A. B,
Right.
I got COVID. And so I knew that I had antibodies, and these people were friends of mine. I was listening to people get canceled. It felt wrong. And you have to trust your instincts. So if there was a major pandemic in California, it would be handled so differently, because the first thing I would do is I would look into how the health organization of the administration is organizing what they're doing for the rest of the state. Is there a state that's doing better than another state? This is the problem. We didn't look to that. We didn't
Mhm.
pay attention to anybody that was doing better than us. We just went with it. Blind faith. And I cannot tell you how many times blind faith has led us into absolute chaos. Blind faith is leading us into chaos here in the Democrat with the Democratic Party that's in rulers. They're
Mm.
rulers. They're not. We're not in a democracy.
Yeah.
Famously said after the Declaration of Independence was signed, is it a monarchy or is it a republic? And the answer was it's a republic if you can keep it. But you have to keep it. We have a monarchy here. We basically have a few anointed people that think that they can oppress everybody that lives here with crazy rules. And that's why the pandemic management was so bad, because it was for, for me, right? Not for ye. It was like, I don't need to wear a mask, but you're going to wear one. You're going to wear one on the beach. We ignored the value of the sun. We love the sun in California. We ignored the value of the healing of the sun. We didn't listen to Rhodes scholars and doctors that had PhDs and massive positions in big Ivy League college positions that had written papers and worked for the World Health Organization. It didn't matter if they were not saying what the narrative was about shutting the world down. They were kicked off. They were just completely like cut off. Their followers were cut off. Their stream was cut off. They were. I mean, this sounds insane to me.
It is.
Dissent was immobilized, and so everybody got scared, because it seemed like, oh gosh, what do we try? And we scared people. We terrified people. And through that fear mongering, we manipulated them and we put them in boxes and we wouldn't let them out. We imprisoned California through fear and fear mongering and through criticizing and blocking dissent. And pretty soon, everybody was like inside of a box going, are we going to be okay? Should we all get back? We all need to get vaccinated. Don't touch your grandma. Don't go into a hospital and get the person that's in there out of the hospital. Let them die alone in a hospital. What in the world?
Yeah.
The whole entire time I kept thinking of Princess Diana when she went to visit all the kids with AIDS and she was hugging and picking them all up. And everyone was around her going, what is she doing? And I just couldn't, it brought me to an emotional, rigidness. I was like, this is wrong. And wrong is wrong, people. When it's wrong, it's wrong. And I sense it now when it comes to things like Wake Up, California. Like there's a new pandemic, right? The new pandemic is all this fraud. It's fraud that stems from the pandemic. Okay? They put billions in California alone, $125 billion into things for people at small businesses in the pandemic. Like, let's give PPP money and all of these emergency relief loans. This was designed for people who had businesses in California. Then they had all these grants to have all sorts of middlemen business, because none of these big cities know how to deploy money, which is crucial. You need to know how to deploy money. We're in a new pandemic. They've stolen all our money, and now it's being sourced. You have guys like Nick Shirley going around door knocking, and it's pretty obvious, at least in Minnesota, that there's this $11 billion that's missing, and lots of it they've tracked it all the way to Somalia. And even with that, people are like, oh no, nothing to see over here. Well, here we're missing this $24 billion for the homeless industrial complex, which is it's gone to all these middlemen. $24 billion, okay? And to be clear, okay, nobody was housed with that money. It's $847,000 per homeless person. There's nobody in houses, and they can't find it, and they want to look for it. And then Gavin Newsom, he gets up to a microphone, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and it's like vetoes a bill to do an audit. He vetoes a bill to do an audit. Now, what that means to me is we're in the new pandemic. The new pandemic is we don't have any money, okay? You're not going to be able to pay your bills because it's all been ripped off. And Gavin Newsom is going to leave with the very last dollar as he makes the beeline for the White House. So everybody needs to get it together now, Democrats. You need to get it together. You need to realize that Swalwell, one of these things looks just like the other, okay? We are being gaslit. We are being hijacked by this deportation of taxpayer dollars that belong to Californians for infrastructure, schools, and things in California. They are deporting our money. They are taking our cash. It is going to the same couple hundred people. It is not going into anything in California. And if you don't believe me, drive on PCH and look at the hillside of Pacific Palisades and Malibu. You will see that no money has been spent in infrastructure in our state in 30 years, maybe 40.
Yeah. And I do believe Swalwell dated a Chinese spy once, but we'll carry on. Now, California's long embraced sanctuary policies for illegal immigrants, which has led to all sorts of problems. Where do you stand on that?
So, okay, first of all, sanctuary cities are unfunded mandates, which people don't understand. So, the unfunded mandate situation is a big bucket. It includes beds for homelessness. It includes this thing called SB 79, which is high density housing. It includes sanctuary cities, a ton of things that come under unfunded mandates. So, you used to live in Sunnyvale.
Mhm.
So, if Sacramento calls up the mayor of Sunnyvale and says, "Hey, we need you to build high density housing near all your transit districts, and if you don't have one, we'll put one there for you." The mayor of Sunnyvale is going to be like, "Oh, no, 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 no." But they can't really fight back because it's a mandate. So that's the same thing with sanctuary cities. They call up all these cities and they're like, "Okay, you're going to be a sanctuary city and we're going to send, however many, aliens there, or, people are waiting for the residency, but also criminals and children, who cares? They're all going to be there." And then they say to the city, "You need to protect these people." But the problem is there's no money for that. So these people essentially don't have status to be here, don't have a house, don't have any way to feed themselves, cannot work, and so on. And the city has to take care of that under a mandate. And then on top of it, they create this big like smoke screen about how these people are just being separated from families and thrown out. Never mind that they just got here. I mean, most of the people that live in California, whether they're legal or not, that have been here for decades, are in the infrastructure. They're like they have jobs and they're gardeners and they have cars and their kids are in schools and live in homes. And yes, it's true. A lot of them, don't have legal status because 11 million people have been in line to have legal status in America for about 20 years now. So there's a very long line to become a citizen, and you have to get in it. So when they opened the borders, which is now, I think people really understand that the reason that they did it, which we can get into in a minute, it whatever the reasons were, they did it. So now you got this flood of people, and because they're unchecked, of course, there's going to be people that are bad. And my belief is Californians, as harsh as this is, okay, will turn over criminals and children 100% if they're allowed to do that, and that is something that is being told to them from the top management of the state. You need to go through your backyard and make sure that nobody in there is in trouble or has caused terrible trouble. Children and murderers and bank robbers and people who mug you and rape you and those people that have a rap sheet need to go. And you, Californians, are not going to harbor those people because that is not in your DNA. Okay? Your DNA is to save children and to keep your community safe. That's the Democratic DNA. It's not the other way around. They've gaslit people, they've hijacked the narrative, and they've forgotten about who the victim is. Okay? The victim is the child that's been separated from their family. The victim is the girl that was killed in the subway. The girl, the Riley Lakin. The victim is the person who had lost their lives over one of these people. Those are the victims. And we take empathy from people, really solid, like, I want to help you, empathy, and we steal it and use it against you. And that's what it's all about. And nobody in their right mind, when you sit them down and you give them a list and say, "Hey, by the way," and instead of saying, "Look, we're happy to have a sanctuary city for any of you that are here to improve your lives and improve and improve the environment of California. Please, let us help you. We're going to figure out a line for that. We're going to figure out an amnesty, or we're going to figure out immigration reform." But when you turn around and say, "Oh, but all you guys too, and all you stolen little babies and everything should just live here, and we're going to protect you from the big bad ICE," okay, that are with a list, by the way. And I encountered them on a job site, and it was nothing like what you're seeing in the narrative. They literally said, "Hi, this is the list. Do any of these people work for you?" They had pictures. They had pictures. Has everybody forgotten the back of a milk carton? They had pictures of kids. Like,
Right.
it's just a sold narrative, and it's forced upon our cities, and our cities do not want it, and they cannot pay for it. And there's no money there. And what Sacramento is doing is they're dividing us through the mayor system, through the city council system, through the board of supervisors system. They are putting people and elevating people in power that are not Californians, that do not have California agendas. And they're creating these narratives that these people really want this for you, California, and it's going to help you, California. Meanwhile, the people in charge in these cities, if they don't comply, they can't get anything done. So they're scrambling, and they've made scrambled eggs out of it. It's just
Mhm.
a big pile of scrambled eggs.
Yeah. Now, I have one more policy question, but I want to say that believe that with the budget shortfalls that California is experiencing, we really need a business person, not a lifelong politician in office in California and elsewhere. Um, California is pushing towards banning the sale of new gas-powered cars, and it's part of a major climate initiative. Do you think the timeline is realistic? And what would your approach to energy and transportation policy be?
Okay, not to sound dumb, but I'm just going to throw something out at you. I was there during the Pacific Palisades fires, looking at my property in Malibu and helping friends get in and out, trying to figure out what we're going to do. And I just want to point out something really obvious to Californians. Not that, you take it at face value. You could not charge an electric fire truck or an ambulance or a Department of Water and Power car for
Right.
months. Okay. When there is an emergency, you don't have any power, you need gas, you need diesel. Number one. Number two, transportation on rail is about the only way you move enough building materials into the state to rebuild. Okay. And not electric Brightline. Okay. Union Pacific Railroad. Number two. Number three, cargo ships. Cargo ships run on diesel. They need fuel. Trucking, the trucking industry. The trucking industry that brings you everything you eat, everything you wear, every single thing in your life, every computer, this iPad, they need fuel. Can you charge a truck? Sure, you can, but you can't go anywhere. It makes it unaffordable. And the trickle down of using power instead of fuel in the long run is negative impact, which people don't understand. Number one. Number two, we are California. Have you all forgotten about the Beverly Hillbillies? We are an oil and gas state, okay? We are an oil and gas state. And it is fine if you want to drive an electric car. I think you should drive an electric car if you want one. You should have an option. But again, mandating things and mandating drawdowns that impact not just the environment, because we don't have enough power. The power grids are going to go to the data centers. The data centers are going to eat all the power. It's nonsense. And
Uh,
it's also not about like doing it by a certain date. Can we improve on things by a certain date? Yes. But can you say to me that we need to be all electric by a certain date? Why would you want to? Why
right.
why would you want to eliminate all of that business and all that infrastructure and all the need? You know, one thing at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. This is too big of a lift for a state that cannot pay its bills. We can't pay our bills.
Right. Absolutely. So, with that in mind, where can people go to support you and your candidacy?
Okay, so this is my general. Ready for me?
Yes.
Hello, California. My name is Elaine Culotti, and I am running for governor. Don't vote for me. Vote for us, please. This is not about me. This is about us. If you visit me on CulottiForCalifornia.com, don't give me $1,000. I would rather 1,000 people give me $1 than one person give me $1,000. My campaign is about engagement. I want everybody to read policy and be very engaged in the June 2nd election. Remember that the primary makes up the general election. The two people in the primary are the people that will be running for governor. Everyone else will be out. If I am not in the primary, I need 1.7 million votes to be in the primary. I will have no shot at being governor. And if you don't vote in the primary and you wind up with Swalwell and Swalwell in the general election, whoever the candidate B is. It could be anybody at this point. It could be Katie Porter. If that happens, you have no one to blame but yourselves. So please, with me, if I could motivate you to do anything, please vote. Please vote. It doesn't matter who you vote for. I don't care if you don't want to vote for me and you believe in somebody else. I understand that. I understand. But show up. Show up and read policy. And remember, it is not about me. It's about us. We need new leadership.
Mm-hmm. Culotti for California.com. Elaine Culotti, thank you so much for being my guest this week.
I appreciate you so much for having me on.
Hey, thank you for joining us this week. Really appreciate it. If you would, please like this video and subscribe to the Bruce Collins Show channel. That helps us a lot with the algorithm so we can spread this show over many eyeballs. Also, I have another channel if you're interested. It's Bruce Collins Reacts and Stuff, where I look at some of the mysterious, interesting videos out on YouTube and I react to them. I think you'll like that too. In the meantime, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. Take care.
Flip on the switch, feel the static clear, naming the glow, yeah, the reason we're here. From the edge of the map to your kitchen chair, he's talking wild truth like he owns the air. Out past the highway, out past the mall, where the sand keeps secrets, you can hear that call. It's the Bruce Collins Show. The buried up for dusting, taking control from the desert wind to your radio. We're the loyal knights of the wobbly table, laughing loud, keeping legends stable. Yeah, the Bruce Collins Show. Funeral rides high over dust and stone, stories like sparks in a cyclone. Strange little kingdom made of coffee and chords, where the late night callers become the lords. Crowns made of stickers, capes made of flannel. We pledge our oaths to the glowing panel. It's the Bruce Collins Show. The buried up broadcasting, stealing the glow from the desert wind to your radio. We're the loyal knights of the wobbly table, raising mugs, making myths and fables. Yeah, the Bruce Collins Show.
It's a wrap, falafelites. This has been a Bad Yodeler production. Good night.